Welcome to Live from Caid. Tonight's guest is Caid's Disaster Relief Coordinator, Kennari Aldgytha of Ashwood. And featuring a live performance by Lord Gregor von Medehem, all the way from the East Kingdom. Me? I'm your announcer, Master Bjorn of the Northern Sea. And here's your host, Master Laertes McBride.
Good evening. Hey, I remembered to unmute myself again. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're having a good week. Today, we have a great show. And considering how timely the challenges are to the north of the kingdom, having the disaster relief coordinator, I think will be a good informative session for all of us to find out exactly what's going on. Before we get into that, though, I want to get into some Caid-specific announcements. First off, this Saturday will be the next virtual court with their majesties at 1 o'clock. There's a post in the Kingdom of Caid Facebook group with the information. The Zoom link will be posted in the group, and be sure to keep an eye out for it. And then additionally, well, it was announced since last we saw you that Australia War has been postponed from February of 2021 to November of 2021. So that's even 7 more months until you need to go to Aidenveld. So yeah, there you go. So now, with that out of the way, let's bring in my close friend, Bjorn. Hey, Bjorn, hold on. I hit the wrong button again.
Yeah,
Oh,
but you didn't mute me, though.
that's true. So, you know, that's a good thing. Your week went well, other than the challenge you had over the weekend? Oh, did you just mute yourself? You muted yourself. You
I don't
totally
think I did. I'm not sure if I did or not.
You-
Well, apart from the fact that the digital age was unkind to me
right.
over the weekend. I managed to survive it with only minimal blood loss and not so minimal wallet loss. But other than that, well, I'm here ethereally and digitally. So here we go.
Oh, and I'm gonna tell Meliora, I did not mute him. That was totally Bjorn. So you don't get a drink on that one. So
Later.
so anyway, I understand you have 2 more websites for us for the arts and sciences.
I do. So one of the things I wanted to talk to everybody about before we start is so in a couple of weeks we'll be in the United States. At any rate, for those people watching us outside of the contiguous states, will be Labor Day weekend. So there's going to be all kinds of things happening with the beginnings of what we'll assume is autumn, but still feels like triple-digit weather here. And that involves Lugnasa and a lot of the other wonderful times from Celtic tradition and whatnot. Before then, however, you get a chance to get your bard on, your skald on, your scop, your maestre, however you want to call it, in a couple of fantastic ways. One of the first is going to be the Ethereal Bardic Symposium. Now, the Ethereal Bardic Symposium is a conglomeration of many bards from many different parts of the SCA who are going to be coming together and creating a virtual bardic collegium, if you will. There will be stretch your stuff bardic circles. There will be classes. There will be, excuse me, there will be any number of ways for you to both learn and teach in this way. It's going to be fantastic, and it starts on the 28th of August and goes until the 30th. So on the 28th, when everything starts, it's just kind of like a sort of loosey-goosey, get into the swing of things, which sorts of starts as like almost like a cocktail hour, and everyone gets used to everybody, and then it will culminate with a Barony of 3 Rivers showcase of talents, a virtual bardic circle. Now, the Barony of 3 Rivers is in Callantyre. Mundanely, it is St. Louis, Missouri, and I lived there myself for a time. It is a fantastic place, and let me tell you, Callantyre does bardic. They do some fine singing out there. So be certain that if you show up, please do so. They're starting 8 p.m. That particular Bardic Circle starts 8 p.m. Central Time, so it'll be 6 p.m. our time. And then on the 29th and the 30th, there will be other classes that you can take. Myth and mythology. Let's say you're interested in medieval fan fiction. How to do venue horror stories within the SCA. So, for example, our own Mistress Caitlin in Caid, who is phenomenal at that, probably could teach that class so many different ways. We get a chance to see how someone else might take that class. What does it look like to do Bardic beyond Europe? That's another class that they're teaching on the 29th. Looks really exciting. And then again, on the 30th, they're doing things on Persian poetry and Commedia dell'arte. They're having a fantastic class on Commedia. So it's not just going to be sitting around a Bardic Circle and listening to people do filk or period inspired. It's also going to be a lot of historical work. And I recommend wholeheartedly that you get a chance to take a look at the Thero Bardic Symposium. It is one of the neat things about it is that there's the Zoom address and then the meeting ID is on the site. Now, of course, those of you that know, Zoom has been down lately, but they're working on trying to get that taken care of. And I believe you can contact the folks on the site if you have any additional questions. In addition, because they love the SCA just as much as the rest of us do, there is actually a donate to the SCA link. Now, before any of you think that there's anything untoward about that, that link redirects you directly to the SCA.org site. So if you are one of those people that would like to put a couple extra dollars in the coffers of corporate so they can continue to run this organization, which is, beyond the shoestring of a shoestring, I would say almost floss at this point, you're more than welcome to do so. The second thing I wanted to talk about is we're going to be going away from Zoom and going back towards our homelands of Facebook. And on Facebook, there is a group called Great Performances, an SCA Bardic Showcase. Now, this is exactly what it says it is. It is a chance for performers all across the known world to strut your stuff by sending in performances to this group. It is a chance to not only that, but watch other people's performances. So you get to pick what you think is your best performance piece, and you send it in. There's no judges. There's no placement. There's no tchotchkes for this or that. It is just true beauty. What do you appreciate? What do you want to share? What gifts that you have in a Bardic way do you want to give to the people around you? I haven't sent anything in yet, and they are accepting until just before midnight on the 29th of August, but I have every intention of sending something in, or one or two things, and I'm probably going to send in something musical and then probably a piece of poetry, because those are the things that I do. But they say that every performer who sends something in will receive a coin struck by Magister Arian to commemorate their participation in the Bardic Showcase. So yes, it is something that you're doing to help other people survive this time of pandemic, but there is something that you get a chance to do. You receive a coin, as so many of us have done through so many Bardic circles throughout the years, to receive that token that people have appreciated the things that we're doing for them. And speaking as someone who looks into a small little square at least once a week, to be able to do that and then feel as if folks on the other end are actually hearing what you're doing is truly magical. So those are the two things that will be occurring this upcoming week. They are, of course, heavily Bardic-centric, since this is the time of Lugh, and the Lubricons are out running around, the leprechauns, for those of you not Celtic. And coins are of a premium. So those are basically what's happening.
Wow, that sounds fascinating. And like Dame Tony was saying in the comments, that one of the positives that have come out of the situation we're in and dealing with the pandemic is the opportunity to get this Bardic online. You can not only have it recorded, but to share it and to see performers you wouldn't normally see, and to have the performers have that opportunity to perform for audiences they wouldn't normally have the time or the geographical positioning to be able to see.
True. Honestly, some of the earliest things that we saw, the Callan Songbook, a lot of the other things from Joseph of Loxley, a bunch of the other guys that performed, their stuff is still on cassette tape. There's a lot of things that weren't even transferred onto CD or DVD or whatever. So to now have these things digitally, almost in real time, warts and all, for everyone to get a chance to see how a performer does what they do, this is truly a rare a treat for folks that like to see Bardic to get a chance to witness this.
All right. Well, let's get on with the show. Who do we have for our first interview today?
We have the disaster relief coordinator for Caid, and I'm speaking, as I've said before, personally. She assisted my family, if you will, back during Hurricane Katrina. When Glenavon was a fledgling kingdom, it was said that the queen she said, I will get elevated even if I do so in my shift. And luckily, Radu and Bronwyn were assisted by many people, but one of the major contributions that was made by the people of Caid, and the person who helped organize that is our guest, and that would be Aldgytha, Mistress Aldgytha, who is joining us. Although I want to say that the Icelandic term that we're using would be Kennari. So Kennari Aldgytha of Ashwood.
All righty. Well, we'll see you in a bit. Thank you, Bjorn. And let's bring Aldgytha onto the show. She'll be here right about now. Hello. Oh, okay. Now Meliora can drink because I didn't. And there's a shot for you, Meliora.
So,
now
you're welcome, Meliora.
Yeah, we did that just for you. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having me.
So I guess for people unfamiliar, although the title of the position kind of is self-explanatory, what exactly does the disaster relief coordinator do for the kingdom?
While it implies a lot of relief, most of what I do is I keep an eye on potential problems that are occurring in the kingdom, who we have near them. I make sure that I disseminate accurate information. If there's a fire, I listen to the fire radio, so I have real-time information. If there's a hurricane, I keep track of it that way, and I also coordinate and keep in contact with the people affected. If we wind up with people affected, I make sure that I post updates on what's going on with them. In general, I'll post names when somebody's evacuated from a fire, and generally just make sure that our populace knows what's going on. If there's a disaster in another kingdom, I coordinate with the other disaster relief coordinators to either offer resources or my help, and vice versa. So, for example, Kingdom of the West.
Right now, the Kingdom of the West is having some challenges right now with the wildfires, correct?
Yes, very much so. We actually had quite a few challenges this last week, and we had multiple lightning strikes, but we were a little bit more lucky than they were where they struck. So most of those were more remote and didn't affect people. Though we have few fires, we have nothing compared to what the current fires are up in the West. However, so currently there's about 20 people evacuated right now. However, as of about 5 o'clock, they've actually lifted evacuations for some of those fires. So we're hoping to see it reduced. Elizabeth actually has been doing this. She stepped up during Katrina, just like I did. She thought she was retired, and then the fires happened, and now she's not. And so we talk quite often and have ever since that time.
So your position is really I would think maybe like the hub of the wheel to get the information and keep monitoring, find out what the situation is going on in the kingdom, and then to give the information out. Here's people that have been dislocated or needs help. Here are where active fires or other natural emergencies are happening, just so that the kingdom can keep informed as to where either help is needed or to be aware where there's danger or challenges for a certain area. Would that kind of be a good way?
For the most part. I mean, the office was originally set up during Katrina to be central points of contact.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhat evolved because I was supposed to just be the coordinator for fundraising activities and, things like that. And then we had our fire season in 2007. And all of a sudden I learned more about fire than I ever expected to know. And, but I've also, while most of it is more of a serving as a central point of information and, somebody who's actually able to find the information needed, if on the occasions when we do have somebody who's has losses, I will help them file with FEMA. I will help them try and get other resources that they need. I'm in it for them as long as they need me. Sometimes they just need to talk. Most people don't need me to find a place for them to evacuate to, because we all have close friends and family within the SCA that are always usually welcome to open their homes to us. But I keep track of who goes where. So the people who are like, oh my God, what happened to that person? I can give them assurance that that person is fine, because they don't want to be contacting that person if that person's in the middle of evacuation.
Right. Now, you mentioned the West has a disaster relief coordinator. Is it a standard position for most kingdoms, or what would you say?
We were, during Katrina, each kingdom had one. And we actually had an SCA disaster relief coordinator. That was Adam Steadfast from the Outlands. When he stepped down, to be honest, I got offered the position. And we decided that because most disasters tend to be very kingdom specific, that it wasn't really necessary to have one, and that we are all capable of coordinating with each other. Not every kingdom has a disaster relief coordinator, because not every kingdom has disasters that will require this kind of action, or if they do, they're few and far between. In the event of a disaster, the DRCs, one of us, will contact the local kingdom seneschal, offer our aid, explain what we do, and that way we still have one point of contact that can disseminate information to the rest of us and then disseminate it to our respective kingdoms, so we don't cause problems by attempting to communicate, multiple people trying to communicate with another kingdom and messing with somebody who's already busy enough.
Right. So, now, do you have advice for us for disaster preparedness in the kingdom? In case we need to bug out, or is there a plan or a checklist or something that you would recommend so that we could be prepared for if anything were to come up?
I actually have an evacuation checklist that I post periodically on my Facebook and is up in the Kingdom of Caid Facebook group. It's general. What I would recommend doing is printing it, personalizing it with the actual information. If you don't have a tablet, leave that part off. If you don't have a desktop, leave that part off. If you don't have a pet, leave that part off. If you have a bunch of first edition, like super expensive research books, write them on there. Make sure you don't forget them if you need to pack. And then put it somewhere easily accessible that's out of the way, like inside of a kitchen cabinet or something like that, where it's out of the way, but when you need to grab it, it's ready to go.
Right. So, I guess the main key point, and I have a friend that that's into this in the mundane area for emergency preparedness. It's basically the key word is be prepared.
Definitely have a go bag. When something comes up, get ready to go.
Right. Now, you've been in this position, you say, since Katrina. Remind people how long ago that was.
Actually, it was 15 years ago as of yesterday.
Right. So, you've been in the position a long time. I mean,
I would love a deputy, just saying.
If you worked at a city, you'd have a bench named after you by this point. But, so you're looking for deputies to help you out, and it's really it's more cyclical, isn't it? It's not a day-to-day stuff. It really is during those times when you're needed.
It's actually a little bit more active in Caid than I don't post unless we have multiple people affected. If it's just like one household, I will just maintain direct contact with them. and make sure that the situation is resolved. If we don't have people wind up needing to be evacuated, I don't post about it generally unless people are questioning. So sometimes, speaking of deputies, I test you. I don't use any media sources, any news media sources. So if you want to be my deputy, you have to be able to find information without using the news. Okay, because the news just serves, unfortunately, to make people panic.
Right, right. You're trying to be that neutral, providing information that people can refer to and make decisions on. So this is usually the time in the conversation where I turn it over to Bjorn to see if he has any questions. Bjorn, do you have any questions?
Okay.
Well, I do. So because Caid is sort of rife with either the mudslides, then the fires that often cause the mudslides, and earthquakes, and then of course we have El Nino, La Nina. It just seems as if your position might be a little more active than perhaps other disaster relief coordinators. Since you've worked with others, especially since all the way back to Katrina, when it was an interkingdom thing, as I had mentioned before we introduced you, have you ever had a chance to talk with anybody that has had quite as much stuff to talk about as you?
Shout out to my friends in Western Seas who used to be my most uninteresting barony, but I have now dealt with massive flooding, as in like wash away houses flooding. I have dealt with lava. I have dealt with volcanic eruptions. They can stop now. Oh, and hurricanes. But so I have to admit, I've learned an awful lot about natural disasters that I never expected to know. And I'm very lucky in that people, like I said, reach out to me. But yeah, a lot of things, some things, if I check on a fire, I'm really good at knowing where people live in this kingdom. I've lived here since, most of my life, and I've been in the SCA for most of my life. So I have a good idea of where people live, and people tend to be in fire areas. I have people who text me, "Hey, I need an update on the fire. I've heard there's one up on the 14." And they text me, and it doesn't even wind up coming up on Facebook or in the Kingdom because we're just talking directly. I have a friend in Wrightwood, same thing. So sometimes that's really time consuming, and sometimes that's not. Sometimes that's just a matter of like checking my sites, double checking what's going on, whether it's actually affecting anyone in the areas that we have people, because we don't have people living everywhere. And sometimes it's just checking and walking away. Other times it's just monitoring the situation. And then other times I might not get much sleep for the course of a week.
Well, I do appreciate that very much. And as I said before, so many of the people that got together for Glenavon with Katrina, and then so many of the things that disaster relief has done, especially in the eastern seaboard with the number of hurricanes that just continually ravage, or the great storms that hit east at Ethelmark and the likes. Since this is sort of a thing that is a case-by-case basis or kingdom-by-kingdom basis, I'm assuming that there's not really a guidebook. But if you had to give someone who was doing this in another kingdom some advice beyond know your peeps, what would you tell them to be prepared for? How would you tell them to be prepared?
Okay, I'm not quite what you mean on that. So we do coordinate. When a disaster happens in a kingdom, I usually the point of contact, just because I've been around for a long time, and I wrote up a job description. In some kingdoms, we're deputy seneschal. Some kingdoms we are appointed as a disaster hits. But like the hurricanes that are coming in on the Gulf Coast, I'm in contact with those DRCs. We know everything in terms of how prepared they are, what they expect, and we talk constantly about those types of things. If we don't have disasters going on, we don't generally talk as much. But honestly, the biggest thing in terms of being prepared is be aware of what kind of things happen in your area. If you live in an area that regularly catches fire, have everything ready to be evacuated. Join various different fire notification apps, or if you see smoke, message me on Facebook, email me, or text me. My cell phone's on the evacuation checklist. It helps if you tell me who you are, because it makes it a little easier to figure it out. And I don't have everyone's phone number in my phone. But if you're in Hawaii, know if you're in an area that may have problems with, lava. And if you are in, near the Mississippi, understand that you're in an area that's going to be subject to flooding. So understand what the actual disasters that are common to your area by looking at the history of the area, and then make plans accordingly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So now we've come to the part of the show where we just test your trivia knowledge. It's kind of related to what we're talking about. So, hey Bjorn, what are we calling the game this week?
The game today is called "It's the End of the World as We Know It." Do we feel fine?
Yeah, I feel fine.
REM, right?
Yeah, I feel fine. So, as I'm sure as part of research and just keeping up on current how to respond to disasters, you've seen a lot of disaster movies. So I'm going to give you the log line for a disaster movie, and if you need hints, I can tell you some other stuff. And you just need to guess the name. So I can tell by the look of excitement on your face, you're really. So, all righty. So we're going to start with one that's considered the granddaddy of them all. This one really kind of started what it was started. So I'll even give you the year on this. It's 1970, and it's a bomber on board an airplane, an airport almost closed by snow, and various personal problems of the people involved. What could that be?
So a bomber in an airport?
On an airplane.
Oh, on an airplane. Closed by the airport's closed by snow?
Almost closed by snow.
Almost closed by snow. Well, I am old, but I was actually not born yet.
Right.
And
thanks
I have
for that.
Absolutely no clue. Like I said, I'm actually hardly watch very many movies.
Selene got it. It is airport. Very nice.
I have never seen that actually.
Oh, it's like the one that started it all. Okay, so we'll do something more recent for you then. Okay, so Jack Hall, paleoclimatologist, must make a daring trek from Washington, D.C. to New York City to reach his son, trapped in the crosshairs of a sudden international storm which plunges the planet into a new ice age.
I think I've actually seen the cover for that one. I think my mom actually has it.
Oh.
But I don't actually know what it is. But
Dennis
it's
Quaid.
paleontology and ice age. So I don't know.
Okay, Batista has it. It is
Day After Tomorrow.
The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, I have heard of it, but I've never seen that one either. For some weird reason, I don't actually watch very many disaster movies.
Well, you haven't been doing your research.
Right now, before you change to the next thing, it looks worse in German. Der neue Film von Roland Emmerich wird fest sein. It just sounds so much more devastating.
I know. It's okay. So next one, 1998. A comet is discovered to be on a collision course with Earth as doomsday nears.
Okay, I do know that one, Armageddon.
Nope. It came out same year as Armageddon. It was the other one. This one had Morgan Freeman and Robert Duvall. Nope, and the audience isn't getting it either. You want me to show what it is?
Sure.
It's Deep Impact. So
I actually didn't see that one either.
A lot of people didn't. So, Batista doesn't count. You were after the fact. Okay, here's one. You got to get this.
Oh, hey.
Okay.
Batista also guessed Armageddon. I just want you to know I wasn't completely lost.
Okay. So, 9 people explore a cruise ship at sea in a manner that turns their whole lives upside down.
Okay, 9 people explore a cruise ship.
at sea in a matter that turns their whole lives upside down. Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Shelley Winters.
You like chose like the complete utter easy to stump me on
Oh,
category.
oh,
I don't
okay.
know, like Deep Blue Sea or something.
I'm a very good swimmer.
This is Poseidon Adventure.
Okay, haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, you got to see Poseidon Adventure. It's really
Okay,
good.
you remember I'm like I have a 15-year-old. She just started getting actually interesting to watch movies with.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Here's
I have
one
15 years of not seeing anything more interesting than Star Wars.
okay, so here's one. Various interconnected people struggle to survive when something of unimaginable magnitude hits Los Angeles, California. What has an unimaginable magnitude?
Okay, unimaginable magnitude. I
Mhm.
don't know. There could be many things.
Right.
So things that hit Los Angeles.
Hmm. It's not volcano, Batista. Oh, here we go. This is super generic. Super generic. It is Earth.
Like a
Oh, I
spaceship
got
or
the wrong one.
asteroid
I
or-
skipped Towering Inferno. Sorry. It's earthquake. Yeah.
Oh, well, that I don't think of that as hitting something.
Oh.
Just for the record,
Uh-huh.
if you could do just one of these with the inner world.
Oh, okay.
One.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, here we go. A volcanologist arrives at a countryside town recently named the second most desirable place to live in America and discovers that the long dormant volcano may wake up at any moment.
Okay, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say volcano.
No, that was
Okay,
Dante's Peak. Yeah,
don't know that one either.
man.
I think maybe finding every single movie that I haven't watched. Sorry, I'm a sci-fi geek.
That's okay. Well, Dante's Peak is a sci-fi kind of movie because they drive a Land Rover over a bed of lava and they don't die. So, anyway, we're gonna.
Okay, I like the search for Spock comment. That's awesome.
That's funny. So, obviously, you have some work to do.
I'll
researching
have
your
to work on my
disaster.
disaster movie research, definitely.
Well, and if you're a deputy for disaster movies, obviously it sounds like it's Batista. So,
I mean, Batista, reach out. Help me do my research.
so anyway, I want to thank you very much for your time today. I think everyone has a little bit better idea on what's involved in the position. And once again, where's that checklist kept at where they can get to it?
Okay, you can always reach out to me. I can be found on Facebook under Kennari Aldgytha. I do check my other messages. Otherwise you can find it on the Kingdom of Caid Facebook group in the files section. The last time it's listed as uploaded is October 2019 because I periodically refresh it so you don't have to go digging.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, just for me, I want to thank you for 15 years of service in the office.
Thanks.
That blows my mind. So
Thank you so very much, Augie.
thank you very much. You have a great evening. And I know your school year just started today on teaching. So good luck with that.
It's been an entertaining day.
You have a great evening, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, man. Just so you know, I had like 6 more disaster films. And
I was going to ask you about
decided not to do that.
I was really looking forward to that inner world.
I know, but I'm sure Batista's now signing up for that deputy position of disaster.
See, now I want Batista to do that. You must fight to survive. I can't wait to see a little tiny person do that. That'd be amazing.
So, who do we have performing for us this evening?
We have, once again, some kind and gentle person who has decided that a 3-hour time difference is bupkis. We have all the way from the East Kingdom, Lord Gregor is going to be performing for us this evening.
All righty. Well, I'll send you away again and have him join the show right about now. Oh, hold on. And now you're unmuted. So, you're faking it. You're totally faking it.
I wanted somebody to drink. How are you?
So, I'm good. How are you this evening?
I am wonderful, actually. I'm in Maine, and it's very warm. It does not feel like Maine right now. I'm it's the first time in garb in a long time. I'm sweating a little bit, but couldn't complain otherwise. How about you?
I'm doing fairly well. I'm doing pretty good. I'm seeing a little lag, so hopefully it's me and not you. So, so you're in Maine. How long have you been performing bardic pieces in the SCA?
I started in the SCA in 2016, give or take, and I started as a fighter. I got into the local fighting crowd just on a whim, and my background in school, high school, college, I was the a cappella nerd. I was in band. I did all this stuff. So once I started going to events and practices, and I learned that there is this huge tapestry of other events and abilities and things that people can demonstrate, I felt right at home. And I'd say maybe within a year after joining, I started actually performing around the campfires at events. I'm not really a court bard. I don't much. I'd rather be at the campfire till 2 or 3 in the morning than in front of a courtly procession, I guess. At least today. That might change in the future, but that's where I find my home usually.
Right, and you're in the East, out in Maine, and I know that it's been interesting times out there. So I do appreciate you coming along and performing for us this evening.
Yeah.
So what piece are you going to perform tonight?
I have a tune that, a month or two ago, you had Mistress Annalita Falconbridge on, and I'm actually a student of hers, and I have a song that she wrote, Wait for the War to Be Over, that was the first song that I heard and really decided, I really need to learn that and be able to reproduce that at events and share that lovely tale. It's funny because I'm a squire to Sir Matthew, who's a knight in the East Kingdom, and the song she sang for this program was the song she wrote for him when he was elevated. So there's a lot of connective tissue there. It's Wait for the War to Be Over, and I found recently that just in the situation we're all in, once we started hearing events getting canceled, and it was one after the other, and this song is about someone who's at home while their loved one has gone off to campaign, and that's a story of hers that she experienced in the SCA, and there's a lot of parallels. I mean, it's you certainly can relate to the situation we're in when you hear it. As we all wait for this to be over and get back to seeing each other and being together again. So that's what I want to share.
All right. Well, thank you very much. The floor is yours, and I look forward to your performance.
Thank you. I have brought in the wheat, worked the land with the plow. I've done all that weather and time would allow, but it isn't the same without you somehow, as I wait for the war to be over. Mended the thatching, the roof is quite strong. Done all the tasks that I knew all along. As I winnow and thresh, I almost hear your song, as I wait for the war to be over. There are many dried fish and root vegetables too, and the berry preserves that you taught me to do, but none taste as sweet as when I'm with you, as I wait for the war to be over. The hens are still laying, the meats are all cured. Your unit is headed far north, I have heard. I will work and I'll watch as I listen for word, as I wait for the war to be over. And when we hear the call, when we've ended the strife, I'll mount up our boys for the ride of our life. And we will have back then our mother and a wife, after the war is over. And you'll sing us your songs of the places you've been, as we sit by the hearthside with kith and with kin. And we will at last be together again, after the war is over. I have brought in the wheat, worked the land with the plow. I've done all that weather and time would allow, but it isn't the same without you somehow, as I wait for the war to be over. As I wait for the war to be over.
That was fantastic. Oh my
Thank you
God.
very much.
Wow.
Thank
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your talents and this song with us this night. That was
Thank you for having me.
fantastic. And you know, I say this every week, so regular viewers will get sick of it. But I am so amazed by the ability to perform to a piece of glass, when I'm sure you're used to people being there and a campfire and the ambiance.
Yes.
And now you're sitting in your kitchen singing to a piece of glass. So
That's my first time ever, so thank you for the opportunity.
of course. And I wish you good health, and I hope you continue. And hopefully, one day we'll be able to get, and I'll be able to hear you in person.
Hey, I've never been to Penzic, and it was supposed to be this year. So if we ever meet up, in the future, I'll look for you.
All righty. Well, thank you once again. You have a great evening. I know it's a bit late, so appreciate you staying up with us.
No worries. Thanks so much.
Of course. You have a great evening. We'll see you
Bye.
later. Bye. All right. Well, hello, Bjorn.
That was really nice.
Oh my gosh, that was fantastic.
It was a beautiful song.
If I drank, I would have been drinking too.
It's so amazing that Mr. Sanella of Falconbridge was on our show a few months ago, and she has continued to give us gifts by recommending so many performers for us. Last week's guests, Gregor this evening, and she has just introduced me to so many fantastic bards that I might not otherwise have met. And now we have had a chance to share their gifts with Caid and with the rest of the known world that watch the program. And it's just, once again, Anelda, thank you so very much for continuing to open my eyes to the wonders around us. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Well, speaking of next week, which we weren't, but that's a transition. So next week, our guest is going to be the new Society Seneschal. She's going to come in and talk about why she was crazy enough to step into that position with everything else going on. And we will have a live bardic performance.
Yes, we will. Our Caid's, I guess you would say, premier Armenian researcher. My Armenian is atrocious, but I'm going to do my best. So I believe her name and title would be Varbed Gorondochot Mamigonyan. I think I got it. And so she is a transplant from another kingdom and has been in Caid for a few years now, and we are just unbelievably honored to have her with us, and she'll be sharing a performance with us this next week. So it's going to be wonderful.
That sounds awesome. I can't wait to see that. All righty. Well, Bjorn, thank you very much. It's good to see you, my friend, this week. I'm glad you survived the computer apocalypse.
Yeah, I only got, let's see, I only got a one scratch from the power supply. They bite. That's what I found, especially when you drink when you put a computer together.
It's going to be like the new age version of Christine. Well, anyway, well, it's good to see you. I will see you next week.
Take care, sir.
And once again, we'll see you next week when we will be live from Caid. We'll see you then.